In real estate, the whole game really comes down to talent. Recruiting the best, and just as important, keeping the best. But forever, brokerage managers have been playing defense, always getting caught off guard when a star agent decides to leave. So today, we're going to look at a tool that's changing all that, one that can actually predict those moves before they even happen.
Just let that sink in for a second. What would you do differently if you got a heads up that one of your top agents was getting restless? I mean, long before they walk into your office with that resignation letter. This is exactly the superpower we're talking about with Relitix Switch Risk.
And this really gets to the heart of the shift. On the left, you've got the old way, right? It's all reactive, you're operating on gut feelings, and you're constantly dealing with those awful exit surprises. But the new way? It's the complete opposite. It's proactive. It's driven by actual data, not just a hunch. And it's predictive. It gives you an edge you've never had before.
So before we jump into the solution, let's just sit with the pain of the old way for a minute. Every single manager knows that sinking feeling of an exit surprise. And the cost? Man, it's not just about lost revenue, it's about the hit to morale too. It's just incredibly high.
The traditional way of doing things is really just a waiting game, isn't it? An agent might be unhappy, maybe they feel like they're not being supported, but you probably won't hear a peep about it. The first time you find out there's a real problem is when they're sitting across from you telling you they're leaving. And by that point, they've been mentally checked out for months. It's already too late.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. That resignation notice? It's not an invitation to negotiate. It's the final chapter. By the time they tell you they're quitting, that decision was made weeks, maybe months ago. And you can bet they've already got a signed contract with your biggest competitor. The game is already over.
Okay, so what if you could just change that whole story? This is where everything shifts. We're moving away from reacting and into predicting. It's time to get ahead of the game with a brand new tool, and it's called Relitix Switch Risk.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, Relitix Switch Risk is basically a super smart AI engine. It digs into an agent's behavioral patterns, their sales numbers, what the market is doing, and it puts it all together to predict with some pretty stunning accuracy how likely they are to jump ship to another firm.
Now here's what's really cool. This isn't just a defensive tool for keeping your people. It actually has this dual power. The best way to think about it is like a shield and a sword. The shield protects your current roster, and the sword lets you go on the offensive to strategically grow your team.
Let's talk about that shield first, retention. It's all about defending your roster. Relitix Switch Risk helps you protect your most valuable people by giving you a heads up on who might be a flight risk. This gives you that precious time to step in and do something about it.
And the magic is how it does this. The AI can see these tiny little signals that even the best manager would miss. Things like a top producer suddenly taking a little longer to close deals, or a slight dip in their new listings. These are subtle, almost invisible signs of disengagement, and they're the very first warning signs that someone might be looking to leave.
All right, now for the fun part. Let's talk about the sword, recruitment. This is where you go on offense. Instead of just throwing a wide net and hoping for the best, Relitix Switch Risk turns your recruiting strategy into a laser-focused precision strike. Think about all the time wasted calling agents who look great on paper but have zero interest in leaving. This tool cuts right through that noise. It points you directly to the high performers at other firms who are actually ready to talk. You stop cold calling and start having real, meaningful conversations with people who are looking for a change.
But look, AI is a word that gets thrown around a lot these days, right? So how can you actually trust this signal? What makes this particular AI engine so special? Let's take a quick peek under the hood.
The real secret sauce is its history. This AI has been learning since 2016. It's crunched millions of data points, and it's been trained through all kinds of markets, booms, busts, you name it. And that's absolutely crucial because it means the AI knows how to separate market noise from human behavior. It can tell the difference between an agent whose sales are down because the whole market is slow and an agent whose sales are down because they've already checked out.
And the results it gives you are crystal clear. When you see an agent flagged with a yellow switch risk, that's not a guess. That's a data-backed signal telling you they are 5 times more likely to leave than the average agent. 5 times. That's a massive, massive advantage.
But then it gets even more intense. If an agent is flagged with a red switch risk, the probability just goes through the roof. We're now talking 10 times more likely to make a move. This is no longer a maybe check in. This is a flashing red light, a 5-alarm fire. You need to act, and you need to act now.
And it all comes together in this beautifully simple system. It's basically a traffic light. Green, you're good. That agent is stable. Yellow, okay, that's a warning sign. Probably a good time for a coffee and a chat. Red, that's a critical alert. Something needs to happen today. It takes all that complicated data and boils it down into something you can understand in a single glance.
So how do you actually use this to get a real strategic edge in your market? Because this isn't about having cool data to look at. It's about turning these insights into actions that actually change the game for your brokerage.
The process is actually super straightforward. First, you use other tools to figure out who the top performers are. Maybe you look at their listing effectiveness grade to see who's selling homes fast and for top dollar. And then, step 2, you layer on their switch risk score. So what if you see that your competitor's #1 agent is a red risk? Well, you just found your top recruiting target. It's that simple.
So the bottom line is this. Relitix Switch Risk helps you make smarter decisions faster. It lets you build a more competitive, more successful brokerage. You stop wasting energy on the wrong things and you focus your efforts, both for keeping your stars and for recruiting new ones, exactly where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Right now, in your market, there are top-performing agents who are already showing all the signs that they're ready for a change. The only question is, are you the one who's going to see it,